I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start with you and me. I'm just gonna go, dude. With all the news today, it's just like, are you serious? I mean, they're just story after story after story. A lot of it political, a lot of it on the Republican side. The Democrats can take a breather today because the Republicans have got drama all over the place. And let me start with the thing that's really all in the headlines right now. We have a freaking war going on in Iran, but we've got these political movements back here in the United States that are dominating the headlines, even in the midst of bombs dropping on the other side of the world. We'll get to all of it. We'll get to all of it. We'll do our thing this afternoon and take your phone calls too when we get to it. By now, you've heard Kristi Noem. They dropped the bomb on Kristi Noem. She has been fired, actually moved to another position, but that's a face-saving gesture. Trump moved swiftly on this and caught most of the media by surprise, and immediately named Mark Wayne Mullen to head the Homeland Security Department. Now, he'll still have to be confirmed by the Senate. I love the move. Personally, I like this move. We have been critical of Noem since the beginning. I mean, she's capable, but as I think it was Tommy Lahren or somewhere, I saw people reacting to this. I believe it was Tommy Lahren, and it would take a woman to be able to say these things, but she made that job about her. She was posing, and y'all know how much I hate this, and as much as the left is celebrating that they picked one off, and I think they did because it was, well, let me just finish my thought on Noem. It's the imagery, it's the hair extensions, it's the outfits, it's the dressing up like a cop and going on the raids, but putting herself in front of the camera so much and trying to brand herself in this position. But what it appears to be the final thing that did her in, and there was tension in her department between her and Tom Homan, who's just a big old Shrek-like character that kicks ass and knows his subject matter and is getting stuff done. You've got competence versus sort of appearance. Kristi Noem became kind of all sizzle and no steak in some ways. But what did her in, and this got exposed in that hearing yesterday, and I remember seeing a clip on it. I wasn't sure where it was going, or even if the Democrat that was questioning her about this was even being correct. They cry wolf so much, you never know if they're really legit. But they asked her about a media contract, and we all saw the ads. Remember the ads with her on a horse recruiting Homeland Security people with her little hat? Again, in her costumes. She gave that ad. There are two problems with it. One, she spent $220 million on this ad, and it just popped up on my screen now, to recruit for Homeland Security, sitting on a horse with a little cowboy hat. And the amount of money is one thing, and I can almost forgive that. We're in a nationwide ad buy. They're recruiting for the agencies. I understand they need to hire a lot of people for the redirection of the government. But she put herself in the ad. That's strike one. So the amount of money we can debate because ad time's expensive. But the ad firm that got the contract was a consultant based in Virginia. And I don't have his name in front of me, but this dude had only had this ad agency for 11 days when he won the contract, okay? And the address for the ad agency was his house in Virginia, which means he wasn't legit. He wasn't in the ad business. He set up an entity to get a free contract to go out and do a vanity ad campaign for Kristi Noem, not for Homeland Security. Now, she maintained in the hearing that was effective. Well, alarm bells go off over in the White House. The behind-the-scenes telling of it is they knew the ads were running, but, they're busy. They got a lot going on. And then they hear this accusation that she gave this to a friend, and that was it. And so she was facing that controversy. And look, that's indefensible. If you're the presidency that brought in Doge and you're cutting spending on everything you can find that's considered waste, and one of your most high-profile cabinet members is running around posing in front of the cameras and using tax money to put herself on TV ads. Now, where did she get this idea? We go a long way back of criticizing Kristi Noem for this stuff. Remember, AJ, when she was running the ads trying to hire a dentist in South Dakota when she was governor?
Mm-hmm.
She did all these ads, and I was raking her over the coals, and some people called up here going, "You're being mean." I'm like, no, that's vanity stuff. She doesn't need to be on an ad trying to recruit people to move to South Dakota herself. I know some governors do that, but it was too posy. It's too it's too spending more time promoting yourself in this big national gig that you got. And that's up against, that is juxtaposed to the very critical mission of Homeland Security right now alone, where the deportations need to ramp up and be more effective in that department. We've got every agency in Homeland right now is on red alert because of the potential terror threat here in the United States with the Iran situation. You had tension between her and Homan. AJ was telling me she said something about Stephen Miller. You can't have that. There's an old saying, you'd rather have people inside your tent pissing out than outside your tent pissing in. She's inside the tent pissing in. Like, she's in the club, but she's causing trouble with these things going on behind the scenes. So enough was enough. Now let's pivot to, now she's supposed to get some role being a liaison to the war against the cartels. Fine, give her something to do, but get her off the television every day, because this is very serious work. We don't have time to for her to put on a cute ball cap and get her hair done just right and go stand there with a chest protector like she's actually doing stuff like that. And honestly, slowing down the mission when she's getting in the way with her whole camera crew that's following her around. That's embarrassing. It's been embarrassing, and I'm glad Trump made this move. Now, I really wish he would do Pam Bondi next. I wish. She's of the same mold, y'all. She's been in there. She spends more time getting ready to be on Fox News than she does actually working on some of the big things she's supposed to be working on. And I started falling out of love with her being at Justice when she did the head fake on the Epstein files. She seems to be talking out of both sides of her mouth. We need serious people in these jobs. These are serious times. And sadly, it's not because they're women. These are two attractive women that sell well on television, but it's not about that right now. So he replaces Noem with Mark Wayne Mullen, who, by the way, was a former MMA fighter. One of his big, some people call it a faux pas. I loved it. You remember when he threatened to whip that dude's ass in the middle of a Senate hearing? No, it was actually a House hearing, I think. Some union guy got in his face, and he started taking off his wedding band and was coming over the counter in the middle of a House hearing and was going to let that guy hold something. That was a dramatic moment. But I like this guy. I like the way he's handled it. He's had a few media hits today where the media is chasing him all over Washington. Now, he's in the middle of doing Senate business, and out of nowhere, he gets a call from the White House. And this is how he tells it. It's the White House switchboard. They put the president on. The president just says in no uncertain terms, you're going to be heading Homeland Security. We're making a change. Here we go. And he hasn't even had time to go home and talk to his wife. He immediately accepted the position. He told the president he was both humbled and sort of overwhelmed by it, but yes, sir, I'll do it. He'll step up. And I think he's a good choice. He's a good fit. He's the kind of person I think people in that agency will get behind. He apparently is well liked, even among some of his Democrat colleagues in the Senate, as vitriolic as they are. He's actually close to Fetterman. Now, what's key here is senators generally always approve fellow senators when they get nominated for stuff. So as far as the nomination process, they'll throw up a fight. Democrats are just looking for something to resist right now because they keep losing it. I mean, they keep losing at every turn. And in the middle of this, we've got this situation with the shutdown where they're staging another phony shutdown that doesn't have to be even going on. There's some more irony about that, too, here at home, and I'll give you that in just a second. So here comes Mark Wayne Mullen. He'll have to take the job. Apparently, it happens at the end of the month, so there'll be a transition. And by the way, Noem had a previously scheduled event today, I believe with some law enforcement people, and she went on and did the speech. She did a pretty good job hiding probably some deep disappointment. There's no way this isn't disappointing for her, even though she's still getting a presence in the administration. But she's going to lose this high-profile gig, but she just messed it up herself. She did this to herself. So Mullen will go through the Senate confirmation process. The president can sort of make a temporary acting appointment for a while just to get him going. I believe he'll get confirmed by the Senate. Now, as far as the shutdown, he's going to step in. Who knows how long that goes on, but he's got to take the reins in the middle of that mess, in the middle of a war, in the middle of the biggest deportation surge in our history. Said the dude's got his work cut out for him. Now, as far as all that goes, one of the agencies involved at Homeland Security that Mark Wayne Mullen will be taking over is the Coast Guard. And the Coast Guard, as everybody knows by now, announced they're going to actually take over the old Birmingham Southern campus and turning into a training facility. I know, make all your jokes about there's no water over there. There are no boats over there. They have a lot of course, land-based facilities and even bases. I had a buddy that served. Don't they have a base in like South Dakota or North Dakota somewhere? And I had a buddy that served up there. I think it's near Minot or whatever. But man, that announcement was good for the city. 1,000 jobs. It's good for everybody. Our federal delegation clearly did a good job. Honestly, Katie Britt's been out in front of that. She was on the committee to get a lot of that done. I believe she probably had a lot to do with that. But then I see Randall Woodfin. He's the mayor of Birmingham. He's got to celebrate this, right? The Republicans come through for him and bring 1,000 jobs to his city. He's got to say that's a good deal. But it's his own party that has that agency shut down right now. And I don't know if any reporters saw fit to even ask him a single question about it. None of them. It's craziness. So it's ironic, but it is what it is, and it's good for Birmingham, and I guess it's good for the Coast Guard too. It could be more of the graft, but that hole that was left when Birmingham Southern had to shut down has to be filled, and I guess that's about as good a use for it as you can get. So we got a lot of stories today, and that's the one that's sort of dominating in this hour. There'll be other stuff. We still got war updates to go. There hasn't been a whole lot of reporting out of there today. It's not that it's calming down. The Iranians are still doing what they can to fight back. They sent a bunch of planes flying 80 feet over the Persian Gulf, try to avoid radar today, heading them toward the Qataris. The Qataris shot them right out of the sky. So you've got other nations getting involved in dealing with whatever Iran is continuing to lob at them. So there's stories about that theater. We got drama out of Texas. It's like a Mexican standoff out of Texas over the Senate seat, and it has to do with the SAVE Act. And I'm going to save that for next segment, so I've got more time to noodle through it with you. That was the biggest headline politically in the country until this Noem firing and the Mark Wayne Mullen hiring started just about an hour and a half ago. So fun times in Cleveland today. 2:17. Let's get the break in here. AJ, didn't even stop and ask you how you doing, man. You too blessed to be depressed and all that?
Man, I'm too blessed to be depressed as always.
I thought you might say that. Did you and Will ever work out if he's going to do a burger video?
He said no, he's not going to do that. But I'm like, you know what? I may just have to step up and just do it, Because it's got to get done.
Just do it. Just do it on behalf of Chubb Fathers. We need them to represent in the Burger Fest. Exactly. Last night I saw a spoof where this guy claimed to be the CEO of Arby's and he was making love to a sandwich.
Oh
just
gosh.
To just to
Now there's some that's like that's comedy, and there's some that's just like
some of it's just gross.
Yeah, like that's
The thing
that's
about
not funny.
you ever hear somebody, you ever got like an uncle that'll tell you a joke and then he forgets he's told you and he tells you the joke again.
Oh yes.
And then he tells you the joke again. Yeah. Or even like some of our promos that are funny.
Mm-hmm.
So they're funny when it happens on air live.
Yeah.
But then we run it for a month and it's just not funny anymore. I mean, the burger thing was hilarious about the first 2 days. I'm kind of done with it. Like, can y'all get that off the screen right now?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So I just wondered how y'all left it with the breaking bread yesterday. Yeah, man. All right, break. We'll come back, talk about the Texas drama, the standoff between John Cornyn, Ken Paxton, the SAVE Act, and John Thune and President Trump. All of them standing there staring at each other, wanting somebody to make a move. I think it's hilarious. We'll see where it plays out. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, but here we go with all that. Again, 545-9950 if you want to weigh in. We'll go ahead and start some early calls on some of these things, process these stories, because I just got this feeling in my bones we're going to have more breaking news through the afternoon. Leland Live, Talk 99.5. Y'all hang in there. Back in a minute. All right, y'all. 223 Ox Foundation Solutions. First up here on the show this afternoon. OX Strong. They ask how strong? Ox Strong. That's what you want when it comes to your foundation or your property. And our crazy weather here. It's a lot of factors. I've studied this issue, watching what they do over the years, and in the South in particular, with the rain that we get, the soil that we have, the sloped topography that we have. From time to time, you get foundation issues and settling. And if you're dealing with anything, sometimes the big stuff is pretty obvious. The house is leaning. I mean, some of y'all have got real issues and you don't even know what to do about it. Others, it's going to be subtle. It's going to be something you wouldn't even suspect, but it just seems wrong. Something doesn't seem right. Go get that checked. All of those need to be checked. And the thing about Ox is they do all of the service levels for that part of your house. They can do all of it. Level the whole house with those helical piers, cracks, shifts, water coming in. And then the nasty stuff, when we start getting into the humid months, mold, getting into your walls and getting up into your house from underneath, mold, spores, and allergens coming up in there and all kind of things. You don't need that. You need to get that done. They remediate mold, remove it, treat it, and when they're done, come and encapsulate so you don't have that problem again. It's oxstrong.com. As we've been telling you all winter, encapsulation also is not only a moisture barrier, and I've always thought of it as being sort of a moisture barrier, but it's a thermal barrier. It helps further insulate your house. So y'all get them over there if you got anything going on underneath. It's oxstrong.com, oxstrong.com. Well, let's go out to Texas and the fallout from the particularly the Republican primary. We were all having fun with the whole Democrat primary yesterday, and Jasmine Crockett getting that silly routine of hers bounced out of politics. That was fun, even though we will miss her and her nonstop content. But this John Cornyn thing is frustrating to me, and here's the dynamic right now. So when we left you yesterday, there was this pressure on Trump to endorse Cornyn. Cornyn's the establishment candidate that called for Trump to get out of the presidential race and was a big believer in the January 6th nonsense. This guy is Country Club Washington, which is why Country Club Washington has spent well over $100 million to keep his job. Thune desperately wants to keep his buddy in place. He's got friends all over Washington. I watched Fox News today. I was so stunned by this. They had a show with Dana Perino, who used to be in the Bush administration, interviewing Karl Rove, who used to be in the Bush administration. And they put Karl Rove on for 10 minutes to support the Cornyn thing. So, and Rove they don't get any more Washington establishment than Rove. And he disclosed, he was longtime friends with Cornyn, supported Cornyn. Rove's whole operation came out of Texas. I have worked with Karl Rove years and years ago when he was young in his career doing races here in Alabama. And he went on to fame with the Bush administration. But yes, he's known Cornyn for years. But they still sat there and worked that all morning. And I was frustrated. I was like, are they really going to try to get Trump to do this? Now, we knew the leverage that Thune had to get Trump to come along was the SAVE Act. Thune's still holding out. No matter what they say, he's holding out. He can't, even though they've got 50 senators to pass it, plus J.D. Vance gives them 51, he won't get it to the floor. And he doesn't have enough people that would vote to empower the standing filibuster. So we knew that was something that Trump wants, that they know he wants. And the question I had for yesterday is, are they going to use that to get him to go with Cornyn, the current senator that he needs right now and will need for the rest of the year, or the guy that's been with him? Paxton's been super loyal. And this had a real potential to create a Republican divide in Texas that might hurt the whole race. Now, this weirdo lefty beta male that they've elected on the Democrat side, I really in a million years can't believe he would. He makes Beto O'Rourke look like Johnny Rambo. I mean, this guy's terrible. So I don't think they really have a shot no matter who the candidate is. But it was about to be expensive. A bunch of money was going to be dumped in there. And here's a Trump loyalist versus a cheese-eating surrender monkey establishment type. And Trump was being encouraged to endorse the establishment type for strategic reasons. And then in walks Ken Paxton and threw everybody for a loop today when Ken Paxton decided, hey, I'll tell you what, because yesterday he said, I'm not getting out of the race. I don't care what Trump says. And, MAGA base had to be fired up about that. But what does Paxton do? He goes, okay, I'll consider getting out. Thune, because this is Thune wanting all this stuff. If you put the SAVE Act on the floor, hallelujah. What? Are you serious? That may solve the problem. It may just be face saving for Paxton, who knows he's being nudged out, and probably deep in his heart, he wants to continue to fight. But at the same time, if he could step up and sacrifice his own ambitions to be in the Senate for the right thing, which is this country getting some reform in our election laws, hallelujah on that guy. And here's the twist on it. This is just how I see it. What a shame that in American politics, at that level, the good guy who's willing to sacrifice his ambition so that the country might have a fair election is the one that can't be serving in the Senate. The guy with the character that we want most to be in the Senate, who stands for the things most of us believe, is getting, and just demonstrated it with this move, is going to get shoved aside for this wimpy, milquetoast, fly in the wind, establishment, country club Republican that it's the reason, one of the reasons the Senate is as dysfunctional as it is right now. And guess what? If they pull this off, the Texas Republicans will have no choice but to hold their nose over the guy that believes God is non-binary and believes that the border ought to have a welcome mat. That guy, that Tallarico fool. Man, that was fun to watch today. We'll see where it sorts itself out. Look, it's not our state. We're just watching from a distance. Texas will stay in Republican hands either way. I'm pretty convinced of that. But which Republican? That's been the problem for me anyway. The wrong ones are in there with an R next to their name. Looks like we're stuck with this guy. Back in a minute. Yeah, that's right. Lonnias Furniture Company next up on the show. Launius. I always spell it because I want you, one, I want you to remember it, but two, I want you to be able to go to their website. At their website, you can see all the crazy cool brands and everything that they carry. The best thing is just to go to the store, get in the car, go to the store. It's on I-65 right off exit 280. It's in Kimberly, Alabama. That is a fine furniture store. Beautiful stuff. Well priced. Lots of selection. Everything for the home inside and out. Yesterday I was doing all that spring cleaning and I hit my Adirondacks with a little bit of cleaner. I didn't even pressure wash them this year. I hit them with some of this little sort of gets the funk off from the winter cleaner. And it just worked. I mean, I hosed it right off there, bright white, and sitting out there in the yard ready for me to get some sunshine this summer. Look into the green country line, the outdoor furniture, as we head into sure enough spring before you know it. Lonnias Furniture Company, y'all. It is a superstore. And it's not just the furniture that's in that building, it's the people. When you get to know them and get to know how laid back they are, but how smart they are at what they have and how tasteful they are at their design advice and how helpful they are in helping you pull the whole thing together. They may have some stuff grouped in a way that you want to change it up a little bit. They'll take you all over that store or find out what they've got in the back to help you put it together so it looks right in your home. It's LonniasFurnitureCompany.com, Launius. Y'all go see Reggie and John and that whole team. LonniasFurnitureCompany.com. All right, I guess I want to go to, let's go on and do some Iran stuff and see where we are on that. There haven't been any dramatic news conferences today. It's just a lot of more. We're still flying sorties. We're escalating our power. They're continuing to lob missiles that are getting shot down. They've not had any real effect today. I will warn you of this, though. There is so much misinformation on the internet as to what is going on in the battlefield that I think it's really misleading some gullible people who are inside our country who are pulling for our country to fail. They are pulling for us to show loss. They're pulling for our own soldiers to be killed. They are dishonorable people, and they hate Trump so much that this can't be successful because it's all about him. And they can't even get outside of themselves and their hate for the president for a minute and think at least pull for the troops to be safe and execute their missions and not be killed with drones. But no, they're pulling for problems. So there's a lot of histrionics and a lot of fake AI videos. I used to think the Iranians were putting these out, but I think the Democrat Party's putting them out. I really think it's some of these bedwetters that are getting on their computers and making stuff that's not even legit. They'll run a piece of video from Afghanistan from years ago and tell people this just happened to our troops. And so really you got to turn the internet off. I'll try to filter what I can for you, or be good at spotting fakes. And also once you see something that's phony, pay attention to where the source is. A lot of times we ignore who's posted what and just ignore that source. Don't ever pay attention to that source again once you've been burned by them. And it's even some mainstream folks that are passing this information along about how the war's going. But so far, as far as the Pentagon updates, it's going well, going ahead of schedule. The air dominance is still there for the United States. The problem continues to be the uncertainty over the flow of oil, and that rocked the markets again today. The Dow, as we stand here right now, is down 863. That's going to be about a 2% day, maybe a 1.5 day on. Let me pull the percentages up. Yeah, 1.7 right now down after some other down days. The market's basically shrugged it all off, but an oil shock or a disruption of a refinery or bombing of a refinery or all of that stuff will really continue to rock the markets. So let me lead in from there to talk about the Strait of Hormuz and a fascinating breakdown I saw from it was some kind of policy institute that understands the global energy economics. And I should have written the name of it down, but I watched this lady do a presentation on the strait and what Trump just did that escaped me. I talked about it yesterday, but I don't think I really understood the impact of it. And I'll sort of paraphrase what I watched with this presentation. It was about 25 minutes. I sat down and was able to take in this morning. So it goes a little something like this. What Trump just did is he just took the power away from Lloyd's of London. Now, some of y'all are thinking, what does that matter? It's an incredible story. If you're British, you understand this. If you're part of the UK politics, you understand it. So Keir Starmer is a total left-wing He's very sympathetic to the Muslims in his country because his country's been invaded and taken over by them. He's afraid of them. This dude's off celebrating Ramadan and afraid to get his country involved in assisting as a NATO ally, anything that we're doing in Iran. Again, he's afraid his own population will turn on him, especially around the city of London. But Lloyd's of London, the famous insurance company that's been around apparently for 300 years, it's older than our country. King George laid the first cornerstone on their first building when they started getting into business. And Lloyd's of London really made its business, it made its money, and it got its power from the Strait of Hormuz. Now, who knew this history? I was really fascinated with it as I watched this demonstration today. For years, they were the principal insurance carrier. There are 7 others that are involved in insuring energy shipments and other shipments around the world. Particularly, they're the dominant company that controls who gets to go through the Strait of Hormuz, and it's been that way for 300 years. It's one of the last slivers of power that the United Kingdom still has, this private company that's been around for centuries, and its chokehold over how things move through that region of the world. Nowadays, it's particularly oil and gas, natural gas, all those things. But prior to that, it was other shipping and other commerce. But because it's a natural geographical choke point, Lloyd's of London, being the insurance carrier that guarantees these shipments, had the ability to manipulate politics in the Middle East and in the world because of that power, because of the power of that company and what they insured. And I had no idea of any of this history. And they've been kind of thuggish. This woman went through a history of things, crisis they've created that the Brits capitalized on. And it was utterly fascinating. But then she went on to explain in one day how Donald Trump completely changed that paradigm and ended 300 years of domination, in a story that clips the wings of the United Kingdom in a way that they weren't prepared for. They decided they weren't going to be an ally to NATO and to us in this effort, even though you got more and more countries coming on board every 5 minutes. And they decided they were going to be the holdouts because of the politics of their leader, their prime minister. Trump neutered them by deciding to have our federal government create an insurance program at reasonable rates. Some believe are going to be cheaper than Lloyd's of London. And it comes with the United States Navy to give the ships escorts through the straits so that oil and gas can keep flowing and the rest of the world commerce can keep going. And Lloyd's of London had also gotten deeply in bed with the Chinese. The Chinese were smart enough to know the power that company had over that choke point. In China, the world gets 20% of its petroleum through that choke point. China gets 50% of their petroleum through there, and some of it illegal stuff that was coming out of Iran. So by moving this, this country, let me just put it this way, this company made their move. They tried to flex on the world like they've always done for 300 years. They tried to flex on our president, and he said, fine, we'll just be the new Lloyd's of London. We've got more power to do it and a greater guarantee because Lloyd's of London does not have the United States military to escort ships. One, it could be a massive revenue win for the United States government because these companies would pay us the insurance premiums to guarantee the shipments, and then we escort the shipments. Now we control the strait. Now we have the upper hand over the Chinese. Hello. It was one thing to take the Iranian oil deal off the table for the Chinese in the middle of their buildup, in the middle of everything they're doing. But now, functionally, by creating the sort of American version of Lloyd's of London, the power shift in 24 hours is dramatic. It's a 300-year pivot. And I had no idea how deep that was or how important that was or how central this one company was to worldwide shipping. I mean, we've all heard of Lloyd's in London our entire lives. That was utterly fascinating, and it shows some pretty strategic thinking and a deep understanding of how the world works in this administration. Whether it's Trump's idea or not, he's got the stones to stand behind the strategery that his own staff is coming up with. And I don't know if they planned this because they moved so quickly. They moved almost as quickly as they did firing Kristi Noem today. They just, boom, the next day, Lloyd's of London, they're not out of business, but they lost a major leverage point and a revenue source because they wanted to play politics with the world's energy security for political reasons and or perhaps economic reasons and loyalty to the Chinese. Boy, that just changed. Now think about it. Lloyd's doesn't get as much revenue from us as they do the Chinese right now because of the way shipping works and the way energy works. We've got our own oil. We're shipping out to the world and we're sending things in that direction too. But they really screwed up. They miscalculated in a big way. I would bet you're going to see this company come back and crawl back to the White House and say they'll re-up their insurance policies and get back in the game. The question is, will Trump let them? Will the United States federal government keep their plan in place to continue to guarantee these ships? I would want to have control of it. If I was sending my United States Navy, and by that we also mean the air assets to guard these ships through this choke point until hostilities settle, I'd keep control of it. I would not allow a company that's part of a country that's supposed to be an ally to continue to do these kind of things. It's amazing. I submitted this to you on Saturday, and I'll say it again. I think the world map is going to change probably in the next 2-3 years. And that doesn't mean necessary geographical boundaries. That also means geographical partnerships. We may find even greater allies, believe it or not, with some of these Middle Eastern countries than we are with parts of Europe right now. There's even some analysis that Germany is being a better partner with us right now than you're seeing from the United Kingdom, and which is our oldest and most traditional steadfast ally in the world. That relationship's coming apart. Isn't this fascinating? There was so much to what's happened. And then you go factor in Maduro and Venezuela and the energy politics of that. An incredible speech today. Hegseth gave a nice speech today on our position in the world and the Monroe Doctrine. All that got buried by all the other headlines that came out this afternoon. But I found it utterly fascinating. And then while we're doing all this international stuff, let me shove Cuba onto the table. Trump put out a post today that said that he believes Cuba is just about to fall as well, at least the communist regime in Cuba. And we believe it's not even going to be through force. The country is unsustainable at this point, as communism always does to people. Socialism always fails and falls apart. The only thing that kept Cuba going and oppressing their people and keeping the commies in power are subsidies. For years, it was the Russians. Then it was the partnership with, sometimes it's North Korea. The Iranians were playing in Cuba, and Cuba and Venezuela had a partnership using the oil revenue that kept both of these two parasites alive. Now that Maduro's out of power, and by the way, the new president of Venezuela today did a huge speech thanking Trump. The Venezuelans are embracing their newfound freedom. Things are going pretty well there. You haven't heard about them, have you? Remember when we hit Maduro and the left started hitting the panic button saying we're starting a war? We're going to war, just like they're doing now. We're going to war. Oh, we started a war in Venezuela. We didn't start a war. We made a chess move. Now things are being negotiated in a much better direction for them and us, and people are freer. The Venezuelans are freer. And I sincerely pray that this is next for the Cubans. We think it's going to be a very peaceful, friendly thing. According to the rhetoric coming out of the administration, the Cubans are ready to surrender. They've been cut off from the world. They don't have a benefactor now. They just had a massive blackout yesterday. I'm not even sure they got it fixed today. The whole island was out of power. They're running out of food. They don't have energy supplies. They're going to throw their hands up and allow us to just come in there and manage it for them. Hopefully there'll be a peaceful transfer there. The communist regime will step down. The Cubans will have freedom. And man, what an opportunity for them if that works out. They are seeing everything else going around the world, and they're ready to get in on the party. Hallelujah. I never thought we'd see it in my lifetime. This is amazing stuff. If you could have put 13-year-old Leland in a time machine and sent me to 2026 and let me look around and go back to being 13, I would have been stunned. I think the most surprising thing is Donald Trump's the president. What? 545-9950 if you want to get on the radio show. Leland Live, Talk 99.5. Y'all stay tuned. All right, y'all. Let's get on in here and keep going. I had a professional person over at the house today doing some work, and Greg Nelson came up. It was the weirdest thing. We were actually looking at my roof, and I said, I got this roofer, and and she said, man, I need a roofer. I live over in Trussville. We just had that hailstorm, and I said, boom. And I launched into my ad about storm restoration roofing. I do this in my personal life, not just when I'm on the air, and they're paid sponsors of the program. Greg's a good guy. I trust him. When you can personally recommend somebody like that with that much confidence, I think that says a lot. And I want y'all to know that about our advertisers. If somebody lets me down, and I've had this situation a couple times over the last 16 years, if either listener feedback or I'm doing business with them and they're not communicating well or not doing things the way they should, I got to kick them off the show. I can't stand here and attach my name to what they do. And I'm proud of all of our sponsors. That's very sincere and legit, because if I wasn't, they wouldn't be on the show. And Greg is among those where sometimes just in life, people need references the same way we all do. You ask a buddy or ask a friend, somebody you're talking to, for a reference. Here's my roof reference. If you live in Trussville, Springville, Moody, all those areas hit with that hailstorm, you need a proper assessment of whatever happened up there. It may be minor. It might have really gotten you. And sometimes those effects don't show up for weeks or months before we get the next rains. I saw a rain forecast today where we may get around 3 inches of rain between now and I think Wednesday or Thursday. Got a lot of storm events. In fact, they're looking at, we may have some severe weather next week around Wednesday. Still got to get some details on that. But the bottom line is, you're going to need a roofer if we go through that stuff, or even the folks with the hailstorm. So jot this number down. Maybe you're good right now, and I get it. For me, I'm good right now. I've got some construction I hope to be starting soon, and I will need Greg's help with that. But It's Storm Restoration, 205-542-3531. Let them get up there and take a look and give you an assessment before you try to file an insurance claim. Because if you do it the wrong way, it can just really get gummed up. By the way, the insurance adjusters are super busy right now. And there's a window after an event where you can still make a claim. So Greg can advise you on all that. One more time, Storm Restoration Roofing. And the number is 205-542-3531, Storm Restoration Roofing. All right, before I go back into politicians, let me do some celebrity stuff. Did you see this about Britney Spears, AJ? I just got to shove this in the show. I really don't care, but the poor girl, she got busted. They called it a DUI, but the authorities aren't giving any details on what was happening. There was some kind of substance, I would say, in the car, but she had some kind of incident. There were some reports that they took her to a hospital, but it just seems tragic. I wasn't even a fan of this kid. She came along years after I quit listening to that kind of music, but everybody knows who Britney Spears is. And to watch her do these sad, desperate videos, dance around all wild-eyed, and the crash of these Disney kids. Wasn't she one of those Disney kids
Yes.
that came up through that whole thing? It was her and Timberlake and Aguilera and all those little kids. They grew up in this business. It kind of reminds me of Michael Jackson's fall. I mean, he was in the spotlight since he was a child. And incredibly talented, all of them, especially Michael Jackson. But then later in life, just trying to cope as an adult when they were denied a childhood. In some ways, they never got to become who they were because they were always this persona. And when they go back behind the scenes to just try to find themselves, they can fall apart on these drugs and addictions and all this stuff. That was a really sad story today. I don't even find any joy in it. I'm not even going to make fun of it. But yeah, she was arrested today, and hopefully the kid will get help and turn it around. Somebody, they had her under this, what would they call it? A conservation or
conservatorship.
Yeah, that's it, AJ. Conservatorship. Yeah. And people thought that was cruel. You had all these little gay guys going, "Free Britney," as if she was a slave to something.
Thinking her dad was taking all her money and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. The truth is, the people that are closest to her probably knew she couldn't handle it. Somebody had to manage her that way and not give her that much freedom. She took the freedom she got that back. That seemed to be liberating for her, but it may have been the most dangerous thing that could have happened. But anyhow, I just saw that headline today. Here's Paul over in Alabaster. Let's get an early call in as we're just about to wrap up hour number 1. Paul, what is on your mind?
What's going on?
Hey,
I think the biggest problem so far with Trump is that he's kind of reneged on his promises of no new wars. And it seems to me that Lindsey Graham's gotten in his ear, and Israel is definitely a big influence in all this, I believe, too. We're broke. This country's broke. He's ran the debt up. He's not doing the things he promised. And I think we're going to get swept in the midterms because of it.
Well, that'll depend on how this goes with Iran. If it ends quickly and so far it's been a wild success and these people are freed, then it's not one of those wars. It's not what we fear.
How do you know it's a success?
Well, it by every measure, it's a success. These people don't have a Navy anymore. They don't have an Air Force anymore. Their ability to launch missiles and bombs have been diminished. I'm trying to give you an answer to your question. They have taken out with the Israelis. They've taken out the headquarters of that Iranian guard that was the police force that was killing all their citizens in the last 3 weeks. Those folks have been neutralized, and that gives the citizens an availability to step up and take their country back. Yeah, that's successful.
I'm genuine when I ask this. Do you think dropping bombs and assassinating people in another country, do you think that may cause some problems in the future? Do you think that might be, in other words, do you think that might cause people to become radical?
No, not over there. They're already that way. The people that would become radical because of that are already radical. The United States has been involved in that region forever. It's not going to make it worse.
I know. That's what I mean when you say that we've been involved. We're involved in a sovereign country.
We're involved because we have to be. They've been involved with our country. We've been in a Cold War with them for 47 years. They've been attacking our troops and shouting death to America. 80% of the people that were killed in Iraq, which we shouldn't have been in Iraq, but 80% of them were killed by the Iranians. They have committed terror attacks. Do you know this history, Paul?
Not well. I will
Do,
say
do
I
you
don't
know about the
well, but
Kobar Towers? Do you know about some of the other terror attacks over the years that they sponsored? They are literally,
no.
that government was the world's biggest state sponsor of terror. And every administration since then has tried to deal with them in different ways. Most of them have failed, particularly Obama giving them the cash to ramp up. Let me answer your question, okay? So it's a fair question. Is that going to win friends and influence people? It will if these people are freed and get their country back. It could stabilize that region, which is important to the world because of, particularly because of energy resources. It could pay dividends for us for years to come. There could be peace in the whole region, which is probably never will be. I can't be Pollyanna about it. But the bigger problem is this could end the war we've had with them for 47 years. This could be the beginning of the end of it, and finally taking a move.
We were told,
sure, go.
Were we not? We were not told. We were told the same thing about Gaddafi in Syria as well. And
Well, no, we weren't. Not from
well, yeah,
the
we were
Obama
told
administration took Libya out. We weren't told that from the Obama administration.
It's
The Obama.
definitely,
All right, thanks, buddy. I just got to go. I get your cynicism. I just think if you knew more about the history and the facts of it, it's cynicism is the easiest thing to do. Y'all know that's the easiest thing to be, is an intellectually lazy cynic.